In this tutorial, you will learn how to create your own ROS2 custom interface with first a message. I will also cover how to create custom services as the configuration and process are the same. And first of all, before you create any interface by yourself, well, it's quite worth it to check what interfaces are already available. And for that, you can just go on GitHub and search for ROS2 common interfaces. You will get to this repository. And here you have a lot of already existing interfaces that you can use in your own programs. So for example, you go to geometry messages, and here you have messages, and you have a lot of messages as you can see. Let's say you need a vector 3 to represent a vector in free space with x, y, and z coordinate. Well, you already have a message for that. So instead of creating it, you just use that one. And so maybe just by browsing those common interfaces, you will find out that you actually don't need to create messages. And so you have packages like standard messages, standard services, and also here you have the example interfaces. So in example interfaces, you can see bool, char, float, int, etc. But those are just for example and for testing purposes. So if you find exactly what you need, that's fine. If you don't find what you need, don't use example interfaces and packages like standard messages and standard services to build your application. Okay, either you use real interfaces from other packages here, but not from the standard messages, not from the example interfaces. As you can see here, you even have a notice, okay? This is an example message. Okay, if you want to test, that's fine, but if you are deploying, you should create a semantically meaningful message type. And that's exactly what we are going to do right now. So let's close that and let's open a terminal. And let's say that now you have checked the existing interfaces, you haven't found what you need, so you need to create your own. Let's start and let's go to our ROS2 workspace. So make sure you have a workspace, and in this workspace you have a source folder. And so where to create interfaces? So technically you could create interfaces in any package you want. So here I have just two packages, a C++ package and a Python package that I have named very basically for this tutorial. I could create interfaces in those packages, but this is not a good practice. Why is that? Because if I create an interface in this package, and I also need to use that interface from that package, then I will need to add a dependency from this to that package. And if this package was already depending on that package, then we have a cycling dependency, and that's really not good. And this is only with two packages, but now imagine you have 10 or 20 packages. If you start to create interfaces inside the packages which contain nodes, that's gonna be a mess. And so the best practice here is to create a package dedicated to ROS2 custom interfaces, and only for that. So let's create a new package, ROS2 pkg create. And how do we name that package? Well, to start the package, what you can do is if you have an application name or a robot name, you just use this name. So let's say that I have a robot which name is my robot. I just put my robot with an underscore here. And then underscore, and you can finish the name with interfaces. Okay, that's a quite used convention. So you start with application or robot name and then interfaces. No need to put any dependency or any build type for now. Let's press enter. This is going to create, you can see a new package, and let's go inside that package. So my robot interfaces. So when you don't provide a build type, this is going to be amend CMake by default, so basically a C++ package, which is fine. We need anyway the cmakelist.txt and we need the package.xml. What we don't need is the include and source folder because we're not going to write code in this package. So let's just remove those folders, include and source. Okay, and now we are going to create new folders. So we are going to create a folder named Msg if we want to create messages. And we can also create a folder Srv, which I'm going to keep for later, for services. So for now we have Msg here. Great, and now what to do? Well, I'm going to open this with Visual Studio Code. So from the source repository of the workspace, let's go in my robot interfaces. And what we need to do is to configure the package for custom interfaces. So that's a configuration that we will need to do just once, and then it will be very easy to add custom interfaces. So just follow along here and make sure that you write exactly what I write. So let's go to package.xml. You can see here anyway we have build tool depend Amen CMake, so we can confirm that this is an Amen CMake package. Now after this, you are going to need to add 3 new lines. So let's add build tool depend, so another build tool depend tag with ROS IDL underscore default underscore generators and build tool depend. So no need to really understand anything here, that's just the tags that you need to add. Okay, so ROS IDL default generators, and then you have an exec depend with ROS IDL default runtime exec depend, and well, ROS IDL is basically the ROS2 functionality that's gonna be responsible to build your custom interfaces. And then we have another one, member of group, like this, ROS IDL underscore interface underscore packages with member of group. Great, so make sure you have exactly those 3 lines with no syntax error. Okay, and that's it for the package.xml. Let's close this and let's open cmakelist.txt. So I'm just gonna remove this. I'm not gonna use the build and testing stuff, and just remove that also. So what we are going to do here is after find package with Amen CMake, we are going to add find package with ROS IDL default generators with required. Okay, so that's the same that we have put in the package.xml, so just that one. And then we will add a command ROS IDL generate interfaces, like that, with, so we put project name with $, curly bracket, project name, and project name is simply, well, the name of the package. And then let's go back to a new line here, and that is where here we will write the name of our custom interfaces. And then after this line, you can also do, and that's going to be the last thing to add, Amen export dependencies with ROS IDL default runtime. All right, so if it doesn't make much sense, well, that's okay. Just make sure that you have those lines, okay, in the package.xml and cmakelist.txt, and that's how you configure a package to build interfaces. And now, well, also if you want to build this package, if you have this command here with nothing inside, that's gonna yield an error. So if you want to build this package right now, make sure that you comment this command, so the ROS IDL generate interfaces, okay? Because if it's empty, that's gonna bring an error. All right, another package is configured, so we can start to create our custom interface. And let's create a message first, so an MSG. And to create a message, we are going to go inside our MSG folder here, and I'm going to right-click new file, so I could do it in terminal, but also here. And well, that's important, we will need to use camel, so camel case convention here. Okay, make sure you don't use underscores or any dashes or anything else, and use camel case, that's quite important. And also don't use MSG or message in the name of the message, okay? We already know it's a message. That would be redundant. So let's say we want, so we have a robot and we want our robot to reach a certain point, which is defined by a name and some coordinates to reach. So let's name this target coordinates. So target coordinates with camel case convention, and then dot msg. That's going to be the extension for the file. All right, and now we need to write the message definition. And so what kind of data type we can use here? Because what we're going to put inside our message will be kind of variables, okay, with a data type and then a name. And here actually, so if you go to the ROS2 documentation, you can find the primitive, so the built-in currently supported types. Okay, you can see all the types here. So bool for boolean, and then byte, etc. Float 32, float 64. You have also int 64 for like normal integer, string, and you can see also how it's gonna be used with C++ and Python. So a string, for example, here in C++ is going to be an std string, and with Python is gonna be, well, a built-in string for Python. So you can use any combination of those, and you can also use existing interfaces. All right, so you can put anything you want in your message. So let's go to the terminal, and actually let's do ROS2 interface show, and I'm going to use an existing interface from, so geometry message in the message folder point. So that's already an interface that exists and that has been installed with ROS2. This is already built, and so I can already use it. And so you can see this contains the position of a point in free space with a float x, float y, and float z. And so that's perfect for my target coordinate message, which, so I want a name of a point, and then I want a point in space. And so for the name, I'm going to use the data type string, which is a primitive data type. And so let's name it simply name, okay? And then I have geometry msgs slash point. And so here, well, notice that if you use an existing message here, we use geometry messages message point. Actually, what you're going to do is just use geometry messages, so the name of the package slash directly the name of the interface, with no, for example, no MSG like that. So geometry messages point, and this is going to be named coordinate. All right, so let's save this. So this custom message will contain a name and coordinate. The name of type string, which is primitive data type, and the coordinates of type point from the geometry messages package. And now, well, you have written your first custom interface. And well, I'm gonna add a sponsor to this video. And well, actually there is no sponsor. The sponsor is just me and my courses. So if you like what I do, if you like the way I teach, and if you want to learn ROS2 efficiently and with a complete structured course for beginner, well, I have the course just for you. You can check out the link in the description. And now let's continue with the video. So we have our message. Now what do we need to do? We need to build that message. So how to build that message? Well, first of all, we need to do something. Because we are using a message from another package, so the type string is okay, we don't need to include any dependency, but because we are using this package, so we are using the geometry messages package inside my robot interfaces package, then we need to add the dependency to that one. So let's go to package.xml and let's add, so for example here, a depend tag to geometry msgs. Okay, let's save it, and in cmakelist.txt, let's also add here, after amen cmake, find package geometry msgs with required. And let's save this. Okay, so make sure that you do that for every package that you use inside this package. And now, how to build this new message, this new interface? Well, everything is already configured in package.xml, and everything is already configured in cmakelist.txt. All we need to do now is inside this ROS ideal generate interfaces, we will need to, so let's put some double quotes, we will need to simply put the path to this message. And so the path from the package is msg/type target coordinate .msg. So you just write msg for this folder here, slash the name of the file. That's it. And then if you have other custom interfaces, you just add one per line. Make sure you don't add a comma here. That's very important. You can add one per line. So for now, let's keep it just with one. And then, well, that's quite also important. Otherwise, you may have an error during compilation. Let's add dependencies. So dependencies here with the dependencies that we need from those messages. So because in this target coordinates we use geometry messages, let's add dependencies geometry messages. All right, let's save this, and now the configuration should be complete. So let's go in the terminal and in our ROS2 workspace. So go back to your ROS2 workspace and you can do colcon build, and let's just do -- with packages. Select to just build my robot interfaces. So it's gonna take a few seconds. And now it's successful. So if you want to find your messages, make sure that you source, of course, the ROS2 workspace. So either with the bash rc or directly from the install setup.bash. And then you can do ROS2 interface show, and you will be able to find it with my robot interfaces. You can see with auto-completion, I have this. My robot interfaces /msg/ target coordinates. Let's press enter. And you can see we have the message with string name and then point coordinates with X, Y, and Z. Great, so that successfully worked and you have a custom message. Now, how to use this message in your code? Okay, how to use that message in C++ code and how to use that message in Python code. So the first thing you need to know is that when you actually build the message, the build system is going to create Python files and also C++ header files so that you can actually include this message into your code. Okay, so there is no magic here. The build system is going to handle everything. So then you can just import a C++ header or import a Python module. So let's do that. In this workspace, so I have my robot interfaces. Let's close that. And I also have a Python package. And in this Python package, I already have a node, simply a very basic node that I have named Python test, okay, which initializes a node with a class and just prints hello with a callback. So that's simply a node that I've taken from another tutorial, but this node does nothing special. Now the thing is how to be able to use that custom interface that I've built inside this node. Well, first I will go to the package.xml of the package where I want to use the interface, and I will add here, so I have depend rclpy to use the Python library. I will add depend my robot interfaces. Okay, so I add a dependency to the interfaces package from the package where I want to use the interface, which seems quite logic. And then I will save this and I will go to the node where I want to use, actually the file where I want to use the message, and I simply need to do this. I need to do from my robot interfaces, and you can see I have the auto-completion here on Visual Studio Code. From my robot interfaces, actually .msg, okay, that's important that you use the .msg because that's from the msg folder, import target coordinate. And that's it. That's how I include the custom message. And now I can use it. And just a quick note here, why do I have auto-completion here already? That's because I am using here on VS Code, so that's specific to this setup, but I'm using on VS Code the ROS here, the ROS extension, which works for ROS1 and also ROS2. So I would clearly recommend that if you are using VS Code, you use this ROS extension, which is going to give you auto-completion, not only for ROS2 functionalities, but also for your custom interfaces. All right, so now to use it, well, that's not the topic of this tutorial. The topic of this tutorial is to create custom interfaces. So I'm gonna leave it like this. but at least you know how to include a custom interface in a Python file. And now let's see with C++. So let's go to our C++ package. We will go to the package.xml, and also after the depend rcl-cpp, we are going to add depend my robot interfaces, and let's close the depend tag. Let's save this, and in cmakelist.txt also I'm going to add here find package with my robot interfaces and required, and in the element target dependencies of this executable that I've built, for now I just have rcl-cpp, I'm also going to add my robot interfaces. Okay, so make sure to add the dependency here as well. And this is actually, well, this is a node that I've written here, my first node.cpp. So again, that's a standard node that's just doing something very basic. And the question is how to include the interface inside that node. So make sure you have the correct dependency in the package.xml, and also that you add the dependency here when you build the executable. So let's go back here, and well, now we just need to do include with quotes and my robot interfaces. I also have the auto completion slash msg slash target coordinates dot hpp, and you can see that the message here, so this was written with camel case here, with an uppercase T and uppercase C. Here everything is lowercase, and anytime you have a separation between two words, you have also an underscore. And so great, now you can use the target coordinates message also in your C++ code. And that's it for custom messages. Let's see actually how to create, build, and use a custom ROS2 service. And now that we've done all that, that's gonna be super easy. So let's close everything. Okay, and let's actually go back to the terminal. Let's go to our source and to the my robot interfaces. And well, we have an MSG folder. I am going to create an SRV folder where we are going to put services. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And well, the configuration is the same. So all the configuration you've put here in the cmakelist.txt and in the package.xml is going to be the same for messages and services. So no need to do anything else. Then let's create a new service. So we're going to use the same convention for the name. So let's create a new file here in the SRV folder, but this time using the .srv extension, not the .msg. Also, a service reflects an action or a computation you want to do. Okay, so maybe try to use a verb in the name. For example, set something, trigger something, activate, compute something, etc. And so let's say we want to set a color for an LED. So very simplified example, we can put, for example, set LED.srv. So I use the word, so the verb set and then LED. I also use the camel case convention. I don't put srv in the name, okay, that would be redundant, and I do .srv for the extension. Press enter. And for a custom service, you will have actually two things. You will have the request and the response. So let's keep things super simple here. Let's just use primitive data type. Let's use string color, and then that's gonna be the request. You could add many more fields if you want. And then how to separate the request from the response? You will use 3 dashes. Okay, just 3, not 2, not 4, just 3 dashes. And then go back to a new line and write the response. Let's use simply bool success. So we send color, which is a string, as a request, and we expect a Boolean success as a response. Let's save this. And well, you can see that's pretty much the same as for messages. You could also include messages from other packages if you want, okay? But I just try to keep things simple here. The difference is that we have 3 dashes to separate the request from the response. And then let's build this. So how to build this? Well, if you had any dependency to add, of course, make sure you add them to the package.xml and the cmakelist.txt. But here, nothing to do. So I'm just gonna go back to new line here. Make sure you don't add any comma. And I'm gonna do srv. So srv this time, because it's in the srv folder, with set led.srv. And let's save this. Let's go back to the terminal and let's go back to our workspace and build like this. Build the package again. All right, and now let's source the setup. So install setup.bash. ROS2 interface, show my robot interfaces, and now you can see I have srv and msg. So let's go to srv set led, and we have the interface here, which is a service now. And if you want to use this new service inside your code, that's very easy now, because in the Python package, we already have here dependency to my robot interfaces. So we just keep it like this. And in the code, well, you will just do from my robot interfaces dot srv this time, import set led. Okay, so that's the exact same thing. You do .srv instead of .msg. And for C++, well, you will do very simply include my robot interfaces slash. Okay, here I don't have srv yet, so maybe let's just actually start Visual Studio Code again after we have built and sourced. So in the source folder, code dot, because we should have the auto completion. Okay, so let's wait a bit. Great. And now let's do slash srv slash set led.hpp, which is the new header file for the set led service. And then you can use the service as you would use any service. And that's it. You are now able to create your own custom ROS2 interfaces. Thank you for watching. Now subscribe here to get more tutorials in the future. Also check out my online courses if you like what I teach, links in the description. And see you in the next one.